All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I have an outstanding, amazing guest today in David Icke, man, a guy I highly respect. One of the true pioneers in this movement of, I got to say, one of the grandfathers of the OGs of this movement, of the red pill slash black pill movement. I love David Icke, man. I've watched all your stuff from the very beginning. I've read your books. I'm a true fan, and I'm very honored to have you on my show. My
That's a
my
pleasure.
platform
Yeah.
is a free speech platform. I like to hear all perspectives and viewpoints. So when I saw your post, uh, basically calling out Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, it piqued my interest because I know you see things a little bit differently than most people, and you don't take the bait. I'm a Trump supporter. Everybody knows I'm a Trump supporter, but there are some people around him that I'm very leery about. But before we get into this, folks, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Don't eat breakfast until you learn about the caloric bypass, folks. Your breakfast is setting you up for the entire day, either to gain weight or lose it. The term breakfast literally means to break your fast that you started the night before. About 4 hours after you 4 hours after you dinner, your body switches from the nutrients we get from food to the stored glycogen we have in our bodies. Once glycogen stores are depleted, typically after 8 to 12 hours of fasting, the body shifts to burning fat for energy. Fatty acids are released from fat stores where they are converted into ketone bodies through the process called ketogenesis. Then, when you eat breakfast in the morning, your body starts that cycle all over again. This is where the caloric bypass comes into play. Dr. Gundry, a heart surgeon in California, learned that if you break your nightly fast with something called MCTs, which I take, folks, or medium chain triglycerides, you can actually keep burning fat throughout the day and use it for energy. But there are specific types of foods that contain these MCTs. Using the breakfast breakthrough, he was able to lose 70 pounds. 70 pounds just through diet, and he did this in his 60s. You can find out all about it and his exact method by going to thehealthyfat.com/Nino. That's thehealthyfat.com/Nino. Click on the link below in the description box and get started today, folks. I do it. I do a lot of fasting, actually. Do you ever do fasting, David?
Yeah, well, I do partly fasted. Yeah, I do. Like
Intermittent?
I don't eat till 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock.
That's good. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I do basically. Sometimes I'll
yeah.
stretch it to like 2 or 3, but uh, anyway. So let's talk about this,
Um,
Dave.
I don't want to go that far, but
Yeah.
I'll leave that to you. But yeah, it just make you feel better.
Absolutely. So, okay, that's Jones, but I'm going to show a post right now from you that was that's how it shows again. Let me get it real quick. My bad, Dave. You posted about basically I like to call them the Avengers, the Trump's Avengers. Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Russell Brand, Brett Weinstein, Jimmy Dore, Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, Luke Rudkowski, on and on it goes. The fake and hijacked alternative media so you're calling out what you're calling the fake and hijacked alternative media have Pied Pipered you into the layer of the global occult under the guise of Trump. I did warn you, but mega abuse was my reward. Maybe now people who bought the latest, most obvious, and blatant lies will see that politics is not the answer; it's the problem, the diversion. So that must mean the answer is U.S. Then, when will the penny drop? So can you explain this to my follower? I mean, to my audience and your audience. Elon Musk, I have some reservations on him. I feel like he's a poster boy. I've heard he was DARPA funded. Joe Rogan, it seemed like he just got on the Trump train at the last second. Now, I'm going to make a disclaimer here, David, before I let you take the floor. But, I'm a Trump backer. I back Trump. I could not stand Kamala Harris. I thought she was going to lead us into a dystopian future with Biden and the globalist elite. But you're going to say otherwise, right? You're saying old system down, new system, new bosses, new management. Is that where you're going with this?
No, what I'm saying is, I can't stand Kamala Harris either. When I started 35 years ago on this, there was no alternative media. It didn't exist. There was just a few disparate individuals talking to next to no one. Very few people wanted to know. And then I started to see, as the kind of 1990s moved towards the 2000s, I started to see the alternative media emerge, and no one was more delighted than me. It was a case of more the merrier. The more people that are putting this information out, the better. And there was an understanding in that period, because it's been very different since, that we live in one-party states where, as they used to say in America, as I was traveling around America, again, talking to no one in the mid-1990s, it doesn't matter who you vote for because the government still gets in. And there was this streetwise understanding that to get to the source of power, you have to take a step back in the shadows. And when you do, you find that point, which is expressing and imposing its agenda via both parties. It uses different rhetoric for different parties because they're targeting different belief systems and mentalities. But in the end, it's the same goal. And I started saying in early 2020 that so big, there wasn't actually a COVID, and that the idea was to convince us there was, so that we would take it was very clearly coming down the line. I was banned from everywhere, basically.
Oh, everyone was, yeah.
Yeah. And
they purged everybody.
I couldn't I couldn't get a platform anywhere. I'm currently, by the way, banned from nearly 30 European countries and Australia, and a lot more if I try to get in. And people might ask why that is, when other people in the alternative media can go into any country they like, and they're still on YouTube, etc.
Wait, you're banned from traveling there, or just banned from their platforms?
No, I'm banned from traveling there. I can't go to nearly 30 European countries.
Wow. You're a threat.
Well,
to the agenda.
What is it I'm saying that other people aren't saying that means that I'm banned from nearly 30 countries plus Australia, and they're not? But the point is that there's a group of countries in Europe, which is much of the European Union, called the Schengen Group, and they're a border group of countries. They have a same border policy, and if you're banned from one, you're banned from all. So I'm banned from the Netherlands, so I'm banned from all. That's how it works. And they've banned me with a law. First of all, they misused the law to do this in 2022. But in March 2023, the Schengen Group dropped that law. There is no law anymore, even the one they abused, to justify what they've done. And a judge in my challenge to this has agreed there is no law that applies to me that means I must be banned from all these countries. But she says, well, it can happen anyway. And recently, the Dutch government has just announced that I'm banned for another 2 years because I've not changed my views. I've not changed my opinion, so I continue to be banned, and it will be indefinite.
So they're punishing you for not changing your views, not changing your mind.
No, well, changing my mind, changing my views. In other words, saying things they don't want other people to hear. And so I'm now banned again for another 2 years from all those countries with a law that does not exist. And what I find kind of interesting is what I call the mainstream of the alternative media, the MAM, that has set itself up as being all about free speech and against censorship, has been virtually silent on the first ban and absolutely on the second ban. And you know,
So who do you consider the mainstream alternative media, like the
well,
Tucker Carlson's, Joe Rogan's?
yeah, that kind of stuff, yeah, but and others. But I'll come to what I mean by that as I go along here, because there was a massive change along, and a lot of people came out of the mainstream media and the mainstream arena, and they came into the alternative, and they basically took it over, and they've taken it over in terms of being the focus of attention through algorithmic support and promotion and
would you say it was like infiltration?
Financial support and whatever. Well,
but would you say that was like an infiltration?
Well, yes, it was an infiltration, but let me put that in perspective as well. You know, if you want to put a certain limited view of what's happening into the public arena, because you don't want the awakening that starts to go too far, so you get into those areas that would really threaten you, then you don't necessarily need to put people in there that absolutely know what they're doing. There are some, I'm sure, but all you have to do is get people who have a certain view of what's happening, what I would say is a very limited view of what's happening, and you promote the hell out of them. And what you do is you focus attention on what they're saying. Now, my problem is not with them having an opinion. It is with the takeover of the perspective of the mainstream of the alternative media. Outside of that mainstream, that barricade of here and no further, as I would call it, are fantastic people in the alternative media who do want to push on and understand more and more about what's happening, instead of getting caught in the left-right puppet show. Because as I said earlier, what was great about much anyway of the alternative media in the area, not totally, the puppet show still went on in some areas, but a lot of people understood that we live in one-party states, and it doesn't matter who you vote for because the government still gets in. Yeah, the secret government operating from the shadows. But what's happened since is the mainstream of the alternative media has regressed into the left-right puppet show, left bad, right good. And what it's done is present the idea that politics through one guy is the answer to what's going on. And we've forgotten the golden rule that we live in a one-party state. And if this, what I call global, has the power that it does, and it does because of the way it's infiltrated and created the institutions of power over a very long period of time. In many ways, they've not hijacked the system, they've created it, like the Rockefellers created the World Health Organization, for example. And the Rockefellers, to a very large extent, are responsible for the emergence of big pharma. They've created these institutions. And therefore, if we start saying, well, if you vote for this guy, it's going to change everything, well, that's not what I see in his picks for government so far, for instance, all of which seem to be enormously Israel-centric. Now, if you focus attention and get people to think that politics is the answer,
well I think
hold on. What happens is that people give their power away. They give their collective power away. I hear that something like 75 million people voted for Trump this time. Okay. So what happens is they give their power to Trump now to pick his government and to whatever he will do in the next 4 years. But what if those 75 million people cease to cooperate with their own enslavement, cease to cooperate with the diktats of government? What if those 75 million people had refused to follow the diktats era? The COVID era wouldn't have happened. And let's not forget that this that I predicted was coming in the early part of 2020, to this day, in fact, a post this very day by Donald Trump or on his behalf, has still claiming credit for destroyed the health of so many people. So, but what happens is I'm seeing this cognitive dissonance. See, if you are an alternative journalist, and I mean a proper one, then you don't take political sides because you know it's a puppet show and you know that politicians lie to you. They lie to you to get elected and then they do what they plan along. So what you don't do is pick a side and promote it.
I think a lot of conspiracies were floating in the back channels with QAnon, Trump's going to clean house. He's going to do massive arrests. That's what a lot of people were hoping for. We're going to go back to a republic. I mean, this really did take hold and it grew, right? Like a forest fire. And I've even had guests on saying that Trump is a military operation, this and that. We know in real time that when we were watching the Trump 24 election, they stopped it in Pennsylvania in some places. But are you saying this is all a dog and pony show, that they're going to get their guy in? Trump is their pick. He's just the right wing of the same bird.
Oh, absolutely. And the alternative media that I remember knew that and worked on that basis. Let me just
But don't you think they infiltrated the alternative? I mean, people got crazy.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
Right.
I didn't.
I'm just posing questions that my audience would.
I'll tell you why I didn't. Because I've been doing this for 35 years. I go back a long way. I'm old. And I've seen card played many times under different names. Trust the plan. Oh, what's going to happen is all the bad guys are going to get arrested. And sometimes they're going to get arrested on this date. And I'm thinking, well, they're all going to get arrested on this date. Yeah, they're going to go to their homes and arrest them. Oh, well, why are you bloody telling them then? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the whole shebang is ridiculous. Let me just explain what I think is happening, and you can come back at me. There is a beyond everything, beyond all the other agendas that are a part of the same block of agendas, there is one that is prime above all, and that is to fuse humans with artificial intelligence so that artificial intelligence becomes the human mind. Now, this is not me sitting in a darkened room pulling this out the ether. This is what they're saying. If you look at Ray Kurzweil at Google, this so-called Google futurist executive, for years now, he's been saying that by 2030, which is a massive target year for so many things for this code, humans will be fused with artificial intelligence. That process will have begun. It's actually already begun.
Well, Elon's leading the charge, correct?
Yeah, yes. I'll come to that in a second because it's relevant to the point I'm making here. And Kurzweil says that once that connection to artificial intelligence is made, artificial intelligence will do more and more of human thinking until human thinking is basically negligible. He means deleted. And what he says is that the human brain will be connected to the cloud. And the cloud is a technologically generated electromagnetic field, which is designed ultimately to hit every inch of the planet. So the reason that I knew that when Elon Musk was allowed, and he was allowed to buy Twitter, I knew it was a scam because I've been tracking this guy for many, many, many years because he ticks every box of the agenda.
So he's like the poster boy.
Well, he's the poster boy, and he's being sold as this free speech absolutist. Now
Wasn't he funded by DARPA? I've heard this over and
well,
over and over, and
well,
then
well,
they're just using
yeah,
him like he's the genius kid that has all this
yeah,
money to play with, and he's just blowing up rockets from his backyard. Like he's portrayed as that, like the
yeah.
Ferris
Well,
Bueller, like the good-looking kid, or like the good-looking genius that plays with rockets. He's going to save the world. That's how he's coming off.
yes, and that's the propaganda. That's what they want to make him, and that's what they have made him in the minds of so many people. It's unbelievable. All the things that people learned over the years of how the system works, they've just bloody forgotten. And now, oh, Elon. And
And
so,
everybody's in love with Elon. My question is, how does he find the time to do everything he's doing? There has to be a machine behind him to do this. Not one man can do all this.
are you kidding? He says that 80% of his time is done in designing and engineering. I mean, what do you mean when you're not on Twitter X? Like,
Or he's
I
not
mean,
at the UFC fights.
oh yeah. Well, this is the point, and that's another thing that where there's lots of connections into that as well. But if you look at Tesla, okay, he has been the main sales pitcher of electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles. And that is straight off the pages Economic Forum agenda, autonomous vehicles. Why? Because at the moment, with a petrol diesel vehicle, you can get in it and you can drive it where pretty much, with exceptions, where you want. But when the vehicles are autonomous, the computer will decide where you go, and lots of vast areas will be locked off by the computer, and you won't go there. That vehicle won't take you there. That's what it's really about. Nothing to do with the environment, of course. And I'm seeing a story today. We'll see if it turns out to be true. That the Trump regime plans to remove regulations regarding autonomous vehicles, which would, of course, suit Elon Musk perfectly. He's doing the Neuralink connection to the human brain, but that's more of it's more of a sales pitch. It's selling the concept of connecting artificial intelligence computers to the human brain, because he was asked a question once. You say that Neuralink wants to take a piece of skull out and put these probes in, yeah. And the question was, quite rightly, well, how many people are going to want a piece of their skull taken away?
Right.
Oh, he says, you might not have to do that. You could go in through the veins, right? And that's what they've done, finding all these self-replicating systems in not only them either. It's the whole idea of the cloud that Kurzweil talks about is to have an electromagnetic field artificially created through which information frequencies will be sent to the human brain via the AI connection. And they're basically seeking to create a hive mind, a global hive mind that can be centrally controlled. Now, if you want that, then you've got to have some receiver system in the body to receive those frequencies, that information. They contain, I mean, there's an organization which I'm frequently in touch with.
Are you able to see the screen as well, David?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, why?
Yeah, so he says Neuralink hopes to make human brain talk with computers. This is crazy. And
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing. There is a verse in the Bible that says, I have a big Christian audience, so I'm just going to just implement this. I'm going to put this in there that, he doeth great wonders so that maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. That also it continues in Revelation 13:17, so that no one could buy or sell except one who had this stamped image of the beast's name or the number that it stood for. I mean, this all kind of goes with what this guy's doing. Now, I know you have your own perspective on the Bible and Bible prophecy, but my audience does believe in that, and I think that it's fair to say that this guy checks all the boxes to me. I mean, he checks
Yeah,
all the boxes, makes, I mean, great wonders in the sky. I mean, it's pretty prophetic what we're watching here, in my opinion.
yeah. Well, the thing is that you 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 have this self-replicating stuff in the something's come on my screen. I'll get rid of it. So you have this self-replicating system in the body, and it's designed to pick up these frequencies, and it contains, like I was saying, something called graphene oxide, which has been found originally, but there's many more found it now, by an organization in Spain, a research organization called La Quinta Columna. And I've been in touch with them quite regularly over the last year or so. And graphene oxide is a superconductor of electricity. And of course, the brain processes information electrically. It communicates with the rest of the body electrically and vice versa. And graphene oxide does something else. It amplifies electromagnetic fields. So if you're in touch with an electromagnetic field, it will be far more impactful on the body if you've got graphene oxide in you than otherwise, which brings me to SpaceX. I don't know whether you know the official story of SpaceX, official story anyway, that's been told by the people involved. But he was, Elon Musk, he was flying to Russia with a CIA operative called Michael Griffin. And I mean, go figure, apparently it was to do a deal for intercontinental ballistic missiles. And on the plane back, Musk, it's said by Griffin, announced that he was going to start SpaceX, and Griffin was offered a job. But Griffin didn't take the job. Instead, he took another one as head of In-Q-Tel, IQT, which is operation that seed funds and supports companies and startups that are creating technology, that benevolence technology, data processing technology, etc. One of the startups that In-Q-Tel seed funded was one called Palantir, which is co-founded by Peter Thiel, who has funded the political career of J.D. Vance and is a business associate of both J.D. Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy. And so Griffin takes the job with the CIA, but then he gets offered another one as head of NASA. And it's when Griffin went to NASA that SpaceX and Elon Musk started getting these massive contracts from NASA, because SpaceX is basically an arm's length organization connected to or run in effect by NASA and the Pentagon.
So it's basically the same thing.
It's the same.
The same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
but they needed a poster boy.
Precisely. How does this relate to what I'm saying here about the AI human fusion?
Jeez.
You've got this cloud, which Kurzweil talks about, and everybody talks about now, this cloud, this electromagnetic, technologically generated cloud. Now, you can project that, generate that through 5G towers, 6G, 7G to come.
Which I think was responsible in my mind.
Well, the thing is that during COVID, they said only essential work is allowed. And part of that essential work was putting 5G towers up all over the place while people were locked down.
They were doing the rollout.
Yeah, they were. But the point is that you can create this cloud through those towers in urban areas and towns and cities, okay. But you're not going to hit every inch of the planet from towers. To do that, you have to do it from space. And what's happened is that SpaceX has become the massively leading company putting up low orbit satellites to beam this cloud at the Earth under the guise of Starlink. And
I bought Starlink.
not, not only Starlink for members of the public, but they have a Pentagon government version of it, which SpaceX and Musk are doing as which is just for government and the military. And so when I hear that Musk is a threat to the system, then I look at his companies that exist overwhelmingly because of subsidies and contracts from the system. Then, something doesn't add up. There's thousands of these low orbit satellites now, SpaceX. There are others as well, but SpaceX is massively the leader. And they have permission already for tens of thousands. Now, where does that permission come from? It comes from the Federal Communications Commission. And in the last 24 hours or so, a guy called Brendan Carr, who is a Elon Musk mega groupie, has been named by Trump as head of the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, which means that basically Musk has his guy in the seat that's going to dictate what he can and cannot do. The other point about in relation to all this of Elon Musk is that, like I said earlier, it's no good if you are pitching the same outcome that you want, if you're pitching it in the same way to different belief systems. Ain't gonna work. So you pitch the fusion with AI and the AI takeover to what's called the left in politics, to the wokers. And they pretty much...
That's why it was so important to perceivably make Elon look like he switched over from being a liberal to a Republican.
Yeah,
joining Trump.
What you do is you basically give the left, the wokers, the hard sell through your Kurzweils, through your Klaus Schwabs, through your Bill Gateses, that says, listen, fusion with AI is going to make us gods. It's going to make us superhuman. Oh, yeah. And you've got all these youngsters that have been brought up in a technological world with a smartphone and everything is all tech. And oh, yeah. But you have an enormous number of people, well, 75 million apparently voted for Trump, that don't want that, that are skeptical of that. And in the past have warned about that. It's no good using the same technique to get them on board. So along comes Elon Musk. And let's just emphasize the outcome that they want is the fusion of humans and AI.
Transhumanism.
Yeah, you do the hard sell with that target group, but the other target group, you need a different approach. So some years ago, and I should emphasize this, these people are not making it up as they go along. This global cult is not making it up as they go along. It plays the very, very long game.
But hold on, Dave. They still got to have their pawns, which their pawns would be the bad actors in the politics, like that 𝗬𝗫𝗫 Pelosi. They could still get arrested and punished, and everyone will cheer. But they're all part of the same game. They're just using them as sacrifice pawns.
Exactly, and we're going to see
please the crowd, to give them bread and circus, to make them say, "Yes, we're winning." They're being punished.
We're going to see a lot of that in the next few years.
Wow, yeah,
it unfolds. You're going to see people that are going to be thrown under the bus, and it's going to be promoted as, "See, we're doing it, we're winning," but the direction of travel is going to be the same. And I'd like to just talk about
But
that.
instead of forcing it on people, people will want it. So this will be different. Instead of forcing it like in this to make it like through Kamala and all that of this dystopian nightmare and being forced the beast, the mark of the beast, people are going to want this. Now people are going to be like, look, Elon's
Yeah,
leading the charge. This is going to be incredible. I'm getting it. I got one here. Do you got one there? No, I got one here. That type of
well,
shit.
to a large extent, they've already got it if they've because that's massively part of what that was all about. The thing is though that Musk came along a few years ago, you'll remember, and he said AI could be the end of humanity. Well, humanity as we know it, true. And what he was doing, because they play the long game, as I said, he's positioning himself as the AI skeptic. So what he's done ever since and continues to do faster and faster is play out more and more and more AI while he's saying it's a danger to humanity. But crucially, he said this, that AI is inevitable, and it's inevitable that it will become more intelligent than humans. And thus, if humans are not fused with AI, humanity as we know it will die out. And so you ask the question, okay, what's the outcome of the hard sell and the soft sell of Musk? It's human fusion with AI, but it's pitched to different belief systems. And this thing about it's inevitable is very, very important. It's a massive perceptual manipulation technique, because when you don't want something, you resist it, you want to stop it. When you can be convinced that what you want to stop is inevitable, now you move into a completely different stage where you're looking for ways to mitigate what you formerly wanted to stop, because you've convinced it's inevitable. So now you're in a position of mitigation. And so you've
So
got
it's a clever way for them to force it upon us.
yeah, and you've got this guy Musk who has presented himself and positioned himself as the good guy. You know, AI could be the end of humanity, but you know, trust me, I'll get the best deal I can. And it's now, if you look at it, AI is not inevitable. AI is the result, and its constant expansion is the result of decisions made by humans, actually not made by many humans. And crucially, in America, they are decisions made by the FCC, which has given Musk permission to put these thousands of satellites and tens of thousands more after that in low orbit. So it's not inevitable. It's only inevitable because in the way that those in power are going to push it on. But it's human decisions that are
But right, but
doing
they're
it.
making it seem like this is the natural evolution of humanity, like we're
Yeah,
going into the transhuman era, a
yeah, but
bright new
that's
golden age, right? And everyone's trusting Trump to bring in this
yeah.
new golden age.
Well, I found that interesting, mate. To be honest, that he started talking about he's going to bring in golden age for America, because that is a cult term. It's part of the cult language, the golden age being brought in, and the golden age is actually the Great Reset. That's what it is in truth. So what
And
you've got,
who's pushing the crypto right now is Elon. He's pushing the Dogecoin, Bitcoin. Trump and him are pushing Bitcoin.
yeah, and so is
This is
Trump.
going to be a very unpopular podcast
This, see, this
with
is
my audience. I'm just saying.
yeah, but you see, the point is, May, I'm just doing what I've always done, calling out the bullshit, and I've not changed. I've not changed sides. I'm just doing. I've never had a side. I said the political arena is just a diversion, but I'm just calling out what needs calling out. Now, this is an interesting point that actually that you raise, because when Musk was allowed to buy Twitter, immediately, for reasons of previous research over years, I thought this is a scam. So what's the scam? And what it's done is allow him to become the free speech hero.
Right.
And
Right.
and what's happened, and I've watched this, is that part of the alternative media that was calling him out before, that he's all these tick the boxes of the World Economic Forum and he's pushing us towards transhumanism, it's all gone.
We
It's
can't do
all gone.
anything. We can't do anything because he's allowing free speech on his platform. So
Yes, and
he's won us over.
yeah, and this is the point. Well, we've allowed ourselves, well, I not, but I mean, many people have allowed themselves to be won over because they've stopped critical thinking and fallen for cognitive dissonance. But when I say allowed to buy it, was kind of interesting. He brought out these Twitter files when he first bought Twitter. Well, I say he bought Twitter. There's lots of other people that are investors in Twitter, including the Saudis and the Qatar government, who, of course, have a wonderful passion for freedom of speech. And so I looked at it, and they brought up these Twitter files, and they said, "Look, this shows that Twitter before was stopping people and was only allowing people to say this or say that and banning everyone else." Yeah, okay. So what you're saying is then controlled Twitter,
Right.
and Twitter became what the state wanted it to be. You're saying that, right?
So
Oh
they're
yeah.
just reinventing themselves, is what you're saying here. It's
So
just a facelift.
my point is this: controlled Twitter and had it where it wanted. Why did they sell it to Musk?
Makes
Why did
zero
they sell
sense.
it to Musk? And the thing too is there's a scam going on, which is worth mentioning, and that is that what Musk does is he picks fights with specific governments here and there. Like he picked a fight with the Brazilian government and then backed down completely. Picked a fight with the Australian government and so on. And this is used to promote him as the great free speech hero. He's standing for free speech. Good old Elon. Well, here's the figures. Before Musk bought Twitter, Twitter was taking down 50% of the demands by authorities to take down content. Since he bought Twitter, the figure is 80% being
Really?
taken. He picked an argument with the Australian government when this preacher was stabbed on video. And the Australian government said, we want it taken down. Okay, so he took it down in Australia immediately. And then they said, no, we want it taken down globally. And he picked a fight. He said, no, I'm not taking it down globally, blah, blah, blah. Well, as the Australian government pointed out, not that I'm a fan of them, they've banned me from their country. They said that when they'd asked Musk Twitter before to take something down globally, then he had. But this is a fight that he thought he could win. And the European Union, in the 6 months to March 2024, Twitter X under Musk took down 40,000 pieces of content globally on the say-so of the European Union. So this is the way it works. You pick fights and you have very high profile, I'm standing for free speech, basically psyops. And in the background, quietly, don't say a word, you're taking down all this content. Of course, shadow banning on
So it's a dog and pony show.
is massive. It's a dog and pony show, the whole
But
thing.
can I just interject real quick? I'm sure you can see the screen, and I'm gonna go ahead and just say this. The dragon or Satan gives his authority to two beasts who are able to perform great signs and wonders, conquer believers, control commerce, and rule over everyone on earth. This sounds like the direction we're going. Now, I like to bring Bible prophecy into this, just so that my audience can relate, and so I can
Sure.
relate to this. But look what we're looking at here. The dragon. He names his rockets the dragon. I just don't see how it gets any more obvious than that.
Yeah, yeah, and also, what has Trump handed to him? It's
The keys to the
control
kingdom.
control of government regulation, basically, and control of the institutions and how they work. That's what has been handed to him, and of course, it suits him absolutely perfectly. If you start removing regulation on autonomous vehicles, you get control of the Federal Communications Commission, and you start getting the decisions that you want, then you can advance your agenda very, very quickly. Now, I've mentioned Peter Thiel. He's a Trump supporter, and he's part of the so-called PayPal mafia, of which Musk is a member, and other members of the PayPal mafia, like David Sachs and others, have moved in to support Trump. These Silicon Valley billionaires, they know they're going to get what they want. And, one thing to mention about Peter Thiel, he's the political funder of J.D. Vance's political career, which meant that when they were throwing names around in the summer of possible running mates for Trump, soon as J.D. Vance came up, I said, he's the guy. They're going to have him because Peter Thiel controls him. Now, J.D. Vance presents himself as an anti-globalist. And Trump is an anti-globalist, and Musk an anti-globalist. Well, interestingly, Peter Thiel, who is connected to all these people very closely, and through Thiel's so-called Founders Fund of investments, he funds SpaceX and other Musk companies, etc. Peter Thiel is on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group, which is globalist to its DNA, created in 𝗬𝗏 Holland, in 1954, and ever since has been pushing this globalist agenda. Alex Karp, who is another co-founder with Thiel of Palantir, this company that was seed funded by the CIA and provides technology, data processing technology, surveillance technology for the Pentagon, the intelligence network abroad as well as at home. Alex Karp is on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group. Another guy, Eric Schmidt, who was, of course, head of Google at one time, he is on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group, and he supported Harris. And other people supported Harris that are connected into Peter Thiel, because they're funding both sides and controlling
And
the
I
outcome.
understand that, David, but do you think there's any chance that maybe Trump, I mean, he almost took a bullet to the skull. I mean, do you think by any chance this guy is unwittingly a part of this? Maybe not. Maybe some of these characters are wittingly a part of this, but do you think maybe Trump is unwittingly? Maybe he just, he really does feel he could change the country. He's trying to do a good thing, or do you think they've all been brought into a back room and this is like the WWE, and they're like,
No,
"Here's your script."
yeah, here's your script. If you look at Trump's background, he has been owned by the forces that own Israel for most of his life, and in around 1990, he was going bankrupt to the tune of money that was just blow your mind. There's a video which you can see on the internet from that time where he is admitting that he personally at that time owed $1 billion, never mind his companies. And what happened is a guy called Wilbur Ross, who 24 years he worked for the Rothschilds in bankruptcy. He was brought in to put together a group of 72 banks to bail out Musk, to bail out Trump, rather. He is absolutely beholden to that network. Wilbur Ross was named as Commerce Secretary in Trump's first administration after 2016. And so he's beholden to them. He has his business empire because of this network. And it goes further back into earlier in his life as well. And so, yeah, he's there to front up this this scam, to pull in that group, that mentality, what I call pushbackers, who don't want this global agenda. So it has to be sold to them in a different way, using different rhetoric and different excuses. So I think you're going to ask another question.
David, no, I got a glitch. But if you look at this right here, look what he's wearing. Isn't that Baphomet on his shield? And then it has an upside down cross.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me says a lot. Look.
Yeah, but again, what happens with cognitive dissonance is people just shut that out because of what they want to be true. This is such an important point. And I know this from what I've done in the last 35 years. When you tell people what they don't want to hear, and it's happening to me now as I'm calling this stuff out, the door is slammed shut.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear it because they don't want what you're saying to be true.
David, people are exhausted. People are exhausted from the last 4 years with Kamala and Biden, and everyone really wants to savor the victory that we won. It seems like, the golden age is upon us. Everyone's celebrating. To hear this is a massive buzzkill. It's a black pill. And nobody black pill. I always say, what's the difference between the black pill and the red pill? I say faith. But what the information you're bringing me today is undeniable. I mean, I can't dispute this. I can't debate this.
But the thing is about what I was just saying is that when you're telling people what they do want to hear, the door is swinging open. It's because they want it to be true. And, I completely understand that. I don't want what I'm saying not to be true. I want it not to be true. But my research has shown me that it is. And thus, what am I doing? What's the point of my life? What's the point of what I do if I then stay quiet about it to stay with the pack? I'm not going to do it. I've never done it, and I won't start now. And so what they're doing is telling people what they want to hear. And of course, this is nothing new in the sense that that's what politicians do all the time. They tell people what they want to hear, and then when they get into power as a result of that, they do what they plan to do all along. We've got a guy in Britain, Keir Starmer, who's just become prime minister in the last few months, and he absolutely lied through the election campaign, said, I won't do this, I will do that. And from the moment, literally the moment he got power, he's done the opposite to what he said. And people are going, what's going on? You never said you'd do this. You said you would do that. You're not doing it. You said you wouldn't do this. You are doing it. This is how it works. And this is what's happened with the, and you're absolutely right. People are exhausted. People are tired, and they want some, quote, hope. But you see, hope is a wonderful manipulation technique because hope is always in the future. Hope's never now, or it's not hope. So what they do is they give you hope that it's going to be fine if you do certain things like vote for Trump. And then when that hope doesn't work out, they'll give you something else to hope for. And so it goes on. And a hope, I've described hope in my books like it's like sitting on a carousel horse trying to catch the one in front. You can't do it. Hope's always in the future. And therefore, it's wonderful for placating people in the moment in the hope that things are going to get better. And so hope, or what some people in the proper alternative media call it hopium,
Yeah.
uh, is a technique that is very powerfully used, and it's being used now. And so you've got all these people who are, are Israel centric to an extreme, that have been put in all these positions in the new Trump regime. And you've got Trump saying,
I mean, you got RFK, you got 𝗀𝗏ci 𝗂𝘁𝗏, Kash Patel. I mean, it's like the all stars.
yeah, exactly, and of course JD Vance,
JD
and
Vance.
you've got the new defense secretary from Fox News, who's extraordinarily pro-Israel. You've got Mike Huckabee, who's now going to be the Israeli ambassador, or the American ambassador to Israel.
Right.
And,
Oh
and
yeah, here it is right here. Actually, I have that.
yeah, if you see the clips of Huckabee, he's saying that he's not even going to talk about the West Bank because it's Samaria and what have you.
So here it says that Pete Hegseth is called for a new Jewish temple at, I don't even know what that says.
Alaska, yeah.
Alexa. Okay, so
Well, let me just let's say this, because that's an interesting point you've just raised with this. In my books going way back, I talked about the fact that part of this cult agenda, this globalizing globalist agenda, is to put a new temple of Solomon on the site in Jerusalem of the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
so is that what this is right here? Is this what is happening?
Exactly what it is. If you go back, look at my books, I pointed out that you'll know when we're coming into the end game, because they'll start to move towards putting this new Temple of Solomon on the site of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, what Christians and Jewish people call Temple Mount. And it's happening. And what it is a massive symbol of this agenda, because the symbolism is fundamentally part of their language. Indeed, it is their language in so many ways. And so that is putting that new Temple of Solomon there is a massive symbol of we're in the end game. We're getting to the point where we planned all along, the new order of the ages, etc. And of course, while there is a Palestinian presence in that land, they're not going to go quietly in terms of having their mosque demolished and a new Temple of Solomon put in its place. So what we're looking at is the removal of Palestinians from that land. That's what we're seeing now in Gaza. And here you have Donald Trump, owned by Israel, who has put all these massively pro-Israel people in his government, who is saying that Netanyahu should finish the job, that on day one he's going to remove any restrictions on providing weapons to Israel. And Israel has long, and Netanyahu in particular, has long wanted war with Iran. I've documented all that in my books over many, many, many years. And look what's happening now. And you have Donald Trump and Elon Musk talking about freedom of speech, at the same time that Trump is saying that when he becomes president, he's going to ban the criticism of Israel, basically what he calls anti-Semitism.
Right. I heard that. Yeah.
From universities and colleges, and he's going to throw out of the country anyone that I guess has come into the country who is criticizing Israel under the guise of anti-Semitism. And of course, then you ask the question, who decides what's anti-Semitism? And well, he does. Well, the system does. So all these things, you see, need calling out. They need questioning. They need focusing upon so that we see what the game is. But the mainstream of the alternative media is not doing it because it's been musked. It's been neutered. Now, you can't criticize Musk because he's the free speech hero. And did anyone find it a bit sinister that since the election, Musk is in almost every shot that Trump is in?
They're going to fights together. They're having picnics together. I mean, it's crazy. I listen. That's why
nobody.
That's why I brought you on to my platform, because this needs to be heard. What's your thoughts on Jared Kushner? I can't get a real feel on him, except for, here it says his, what you need to know about 666 Fifth Avenue, which is, I think it's his company, right? That's the address of it. I relate all this to Bible prophecy. I know you have a different perspective on things, but I think we're having a meeting of the minds here, and I respect your outlook on this. But what's your thoughts on Jared Kushner? I mean, there's a lot of signs that point to him as well as he's not such a good guy.
Someone else I've looked into, mate. But let me say, in terms of the Bible, I'm not dismissing everything in the Bible. I mean, for instance, do unto others as you would have them do unto you is the most fantastic advice. What I'm saying is, we have to just be more open to the fact that there's more to know. And it's not just what's in the Bible. There's lots of other information outside of it that can give us a perspective on life, the world, the universe, and everything. I'm certainly not dismissing it, but I must say, when I look at the Bible and I look at the Old Testament God doesn't seem a very nice bloke in so many ways. The jealous God and all that stuff, and of course that's the God that of Israel. And I think that people need to start questioning the behavior of that God in the Old Testament, to be honest. But in terms of Jared Kushner, Jared Kushner, I don't know whether you know, is a lifelong friend of Benjamin Netanyahu.
Right.
Kushner's father was a friend of Netanyahu. Netanyahu used to go to their house and stay there. And according to Netanyahu, he used to sleep in Jared Kushner's bed, and Jared Kushner was dispatched to the basement when he stayed there. And so that connection is massive. Now, if you look at the first Trump presidency, again, it was incredibly pro-Israel. And his senior advisor was Jared Kushner, this close associate and friend of Netanyahu. And it was Trump that gave the go-ahead for the American embassy to be moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which is massively symbolic in so many ways, not least for the Palestinians. And he had this guy, what was his name, David Friedman, who was a lawyer for the Trump organization, who was then made ambassador to Israel, etc. And you had this whole thrust, which was what Israel wants, Israel gets. And you're seeing now in the second Trump administration, all the people being put into the positions of power to push on with that.
I'm not going to lie to you, Dave. I agree with everything you're saying. I do, but there's a part of me that's hopeful, man. Maybe I'm just blindly, just I have blind faith in it. I don't know, but emotionally, I feel like we've won this battle But but from hearing your point of view on this, I could totally see it from your perspective, man. Like
What
100%. Like you'd be stupid not to.
what I would say is
It
what you're
just
going.
sucks because it feels like you're pissing all over my parade.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing
You
is,
know,
if we move beyond, this is what I'm trying to get across, and I have been for all these years. If we move beyond politics is the answer, we're left with we are the answer. And we have 8 billion people on the planet. And the number of people in full knowledge who are behind this conspiracy of human control is absolutely tiny compared with that 8 billion.
so
So
what do
we
we
have to
do?
do,
What
yeah,
do
but
we
what,
do? I mean, think about this. Everybody's behind Trump. What do we do? Oh, stop, guys. We got it wrong again.
that's going to become obvious with the passage of time. And that's an important point too, because you've got this 2030 target area for time for so much to be introduced on the AI front alone, but other areas too. And what they're doing is buying time. This is what hope's about. Hope buys time. And then by the time you realize your hopes have been dashed and it's not happening the way they said it would, how many years have passed in which more and more of this agenda has been put into place? So we're in a situation where if we realize the collective power that we have, then we can put an end to this. But what they do is, first of all, they do the hopium and get you to believe that this side bad, that side good. But they also persuade you that you don't have the power they do, and what that means is you get this collective power, which together without the divide and rule, which is happening all the time, left and right, the divisions between religions, the divisions between cultures, they all divide and rule to divide the target population and get them at war with each other. So they don't look up and see the same hands are controlling all of them. If we come together and put these fault lines down and say, look, we've got a common threat here. We need to come together. We can argue about everything later. This is what we need to face now. That's their worst nightmare.
I
So
don't see that happening, Dave.
no. But what I'm saying is, if it doesn't happen, then
People
we're
are far too invested in this, and I guarantee you, people are going to feel vindicated when they start doing arrests and prison sentences for a lot of these
yeah
people. I bet you that's coming. And what you're saying is that's still the same hand controlling it
yeah
all.
yeah. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that people are going to come together. I'm not naive. It's the last thing I am after 35 years of uncovering this. But I'm saying that's what they're trying to stop us grasping. That's how we bring an end to this. The 8 billion stop acquiescing to the few, because if you look back through human history, the few have always controlled the many. Now, they've not controlled the many because the many couldn't have stopped it, or they've imposed upon the many and the many could do nothing about it. The many have been controlled by the few throughout human history because the many have acquiesced to the few. The many have obeyed the few. It's a theme that goes throughout human history and continues to the present day. And what they want you to do is, and they present many ways to do it, is they want you to give your power away to an individual or institutions or experts or whatever to do it for you. And what will they do? They just impose the same system as it goes on and on towards its goal. Now, in terms of what you were just saying, it's absolutely right that we're going to see things happening in the Trump administration that appear to confirm we're winning.
Right. Like, what do you think of RFK?
Well, I'd like to see what he does as opposed to what he says. Another Israel centric obsessive as well, but I'd like to see what he does. This is the whole point. Just words are so easy. You just move your mouth and the vocal cords
Right.
do the rest. It's actions that tell you whether something's genuine or not. And we're not in a position yet for that to unfold. The point is that what you've had is you've had this woke agenda, you've had the open borders immigration agenda, and you've had the pushbacker mentality pushing back against that. Right now, what you're going to see are things appearing to happen that those agendas are being pushed back. And people are going to cheer and they're going to say, we're winning. See, Trump's doing it. What I would say to people is they are peripheral to the main thrust of this agenda, which is the fusion of humans and AI. And it's for AI, which can be centrally controlled, taking over everything as it is, more and more and more. And what they'll be doing is providing different excuses for why that agenda goes on
Right.
unchecked.
Right.
But quite,
Basically taking over God's creation. That's it.
yeah,
That's Satan
yeah.
himself. That's it. AI. That's it.
Because this is the point. If you are manipulating perception, and you have to manipulate perception, when you're the few and you want to control the many, if you don't control the perception of the many, then you've got no chance, because you can't control them all physically, well, until there's an AI connection anyway, because there's too many people. What you have to do is get them to perceive themselves and the world the way you want them to do, because then they'll behave the way you want them to do. We behave as we do because we perceive as we do. So perception is the stadium on which all this conspiracy plays out, control of perception. Now, up to this point, they've controlled perception as best they can via control of information, because we get the perceptions we do, leading to the behavior we enact, because of the information we receive, from which we form our perceptions. So this is what censorship's all about. Censorship is about stopping people having access to information that would get them to perceive differently to the way the cult wants them to. Now, where they want to go with this AI fusion, this AI connection to the human brain body, is to have the human mind, the human thought and emotional reaction processes dictated by AI. This is what 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗹 saying. Once that connection to AI is made, AI will do more and more of human thinking until human thinking is negligible. In other
Is
words,
that why Elon Musk was wearing that necklace at the UFC of the Omega, the
the
Omega
omega,
symbol? Was it?
yeah, well, quite possibly. I mean, like I
I
say,
mean, I look at things like that, and I mean, I really feel like they're telling us
yeah,
everything they're going to do.
symbolism is a massive part of their whole operation. It's their language. It's how they talk to the human subconscious.
Dave, I have to jump on the next podcast because I have it lined up. But can I ask you one last question here
Yeah.
about Alex Jones? Alex Jones says, I guess you called him out, right? Or you're refusing to go on a show, or I don't know what's going on here. But Trump is trying to end the Ukraine war. People are waking up to the globalist big time. I don't think Trump is my savior, but I will certainly take him over Kamala Harris, who got 95% of the corporate donations. I don't mind if David disagrees with me on the issues, but I've said and done what I believe is right for humanity. I am certainly not part of hijacked media as he claims. David has been invited on on the show to give his perspective and so far refuses to come on. I am so
Well,
excited to be working with RFK Jr. on making this world healthy again. I could go on, but a closed mind can only be opened from the inside. I will always love you, David. First of all, you don't have a closed mind. I know that you have a very, very open mind. So, is there a response you want to say to Alex Jones on here, or would you
yeah.
just?
Well, I haven't seen that response, but I'll say this: when I started calling out Musk and calling out the hijack of the alternative media by these mainstreamers that moved in, and Alex moved in with them. I mean, I've got great respect for Alex over the years. He's been doing this a long time as well. But what I've seen since this is absorption into this mainstream alternative media, the MAM as I call it. And he asked me on his show, and I went on. And I gave my perspective of what I was seeing happening, of Musk's background, some of which I've talked about today, and many other things, and Trump and stuff. So I've not had on my email another invitation to go on his show. So I don't know where that's coming from. But the point is that I've been on his show and I've put my perspective, the kind of stuff that I've talked to you about today. I mean, so what more can I do? I just go on and say the same things again. I mean, I've just seen a video by Alex, or clips of video by Alex from the last few days, in which he's saying, the BlackRocks and the Gateses and all these people, it's over, it's finished, we're winning, we've won, basically. Yes. Well, we haven't. That's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe.
It's just transferred over. It's just.
They want you to believe this. They want you to believe, thank goodness, this agenda's not going to happen. Trump is going to fix it. So we let him do it, and we support him, and we eulogize Musk, and oh, thank goodness. They want you to believe that, because if you do, then you basically become blasé about it.
Yeah, you just hand it over.
Yeah, instead of saying, okay, no, this is just the start, even if it is. We've got to keep on. We've got to keep on. We've got to keep on. It's like you become complacent. And that's what they want. They want you to think it's done now. It isn't done, Alex. It's not even nearly done.
And Dave, I got to stop you there because I got to jump. But
all right.
Wow, I've got to say that, man, I'm sure you gave a huge dose of the black pill to my audience, and I respect you. I would never debate you. And I just want to say thank you for coming on. You opened my eyes. It's something I've always kind of felt. I'm a Trump supporter, this and that, but of course my mind's open to this, and I can't deny it. You can't just shut this stuff off. You cannot shut it out.
Let me just say finally, for people, your audience, when they're getting you to look over here, this is being done, this is being done, or the borders won't, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But by the way, watch for the AI control of the borders. By the way, that's another problem reaction solution job, as I call it. But while they're doing that and everyone's cheering, look over here at the AI agenda. The AI agenda of fusion with humans, and the AI agenda of taking over control of the whole system. And one of the things that I'm seeing finally with Musk and Ramaswamy is they're talking about how they're going to sort out the waste and government and all this stuff and deregulate. Is they're saying that AI is going to have a major part in that.
Oh, exactly. Boy.
So watch it. Watch that. Watch that. While they're making you look over there, look over there. That's where the answer.
Hand it over to AI. That makes even more sense. Dave, thank you so much for joining me.
No problem, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Please, let's do this again, because I enjoy you on the show. My audience absolutely will love you. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
You got it.